Then this image transitions to, here we go, this image. German soldiers are finding a huge amount of German mark bills, which should be fake, in a carriage of a crashed Royal Air Force, aircraft. This insinuates that Cagliostro may have also helped the Alliance win World War II. This depicts that their counterfeit business became major enough to even team up with the British government. Okay, let's return to the Castle of Cagliostro. These details clearly tell us that the Cagliostro family introduced printing to their counterfeiting only after the beginning of the 20th century. This means that logically, they had to have spent most of their time, that is from the 16th to the 19th century, making counterfeit coins. If not, it does not make sense. There was a printing room in the castle. The printing room was made in the same building where all the conspiracies and killings took place as the specialized business of the Lower Cagliostro. This can only mean that the printing started in the castle of the Count Cagliostro. Where were the counterfeit coins made? You cannot get an answer from the movie, but I imagine that it should have been in the jurisdiction of the Upper Cagliostro, the Archdukes. It's more like my imagination, but it's the only logical explanation. The Cagliostro back in the days, the Upper Cagliostro and the Lower Cagliostro, were in charge of different agendas. The Upper Cagliostro was in charge of making counterfeit coins and politics, which means making marital relations with other countries in Europe through marriage. Meanwhile, the Lower Cagliostro, the Count, was in charge of conspiracy and murder. These are the basic statuses of the Upper Cagliostro and the Lower Cagliostro. The actual Cagliostro in history was an alchemist, an occultist trying to make gold from less valuable metals such as copper and lead. I think Miyazaki translated this image into a group of people manipulating the value of the coins they issued, and used the name Cagliostro and counterfeiting as their background. If they were counterfeiting bills from the start, the story of the history of the Cagliostro family could have just started from the 19th century. The year 1517 was designated, clearly indicating that they were in the coin counterfeiting business. However, the coins, the business of the Upper Cagliostro, became worthless. That's why the Lower Cagliostro also became in charge of the counterfeiting, ruining the power balance between the families. The power balance was maintained with the Upper Cagliostro making counterfeits and doing politics, and the Lower Cagliostro doing conspiracy and murder. This is what can be seen as a symbolic relationship between a pop star and the manager, which came to an end when the counterfeiting by the Upper Cagliostro became obsolete. So the Lower Cagliostro took over the counterfeiting and the power balance was ruined. The Count family making counterfeit bills, because the Archdukes no longer could, would think, why they have to be the lower one? Why do we have to be under the Archdukes? Such doubts and the anger of the Count Cagliostro are only natural. That's why the Count Cagliostro planned the assassination of the worthless upper family. The killing succeeded and he embarked on modernizing the Grand Duchy of Cagliostro. Supposedly, this should be the truth behind the killing of the Archdukes. It was a modernization movement. Why did the counterfeit coins made by the Archdukes become worthless? That is because, as mentioned above, the sovereign was issued in the 19th century, but soon it became substantially pointless carrying around a load of coins and making payments. Furthermore, the international economy became unsustainable due to the system where only the countries with gold could issue their currencies. So the world had to transition from the convertible note that could be freely exchanged for gold or silver to an inconvertible note which cannot be exchanged for that. That's why the counterfeit coins produced by the Archdukes simply became obsolete. This should be the reason behind the Count family killing, wiping out the Archdukes. This raises a question. If he wiped them out, why couldn't he just leave it that way? The Count got rid of the Archdukes. Why do they have to reunite? Let's go back to the list. Okay. The Cagliostro families had to unite. It had to happen because of the hidden treasure. A huge treasure kept secret even to the Count himself. So the catch is, if you want the treasure, you have to reunite. We saw the movie, so we saw the treasure, but Count Cagliostro didn't know what it was until the end. In the movie, it was revealed to be a Roman ruin in the end. The ruin is shown in this landscape image. This image. Many people saw this a number of times on TV. The view slides in this direction to show it entirely. The Roman ruin emerging from the lake in front of the former residence of the archdukes. You see this? You'll finally know what this is when I tell you today. There is a distinct feature. This is not just a typical Roman ruin. What it is, that, like the top of all these pillars, the visible parts above the waterline, these parts are colored in gold. It's because they are gold. This is some sort of El Dorado. This is the big secret. Lupin didn't notice this, so he said when the Romans were driven out, they flooded it with water, and your ancestors secretly took it over. He said the Romans driven out flooded it. He continues, your ancestors secretly took it over. It's the treasure for the world, too big to go into my pocket. We simply believe in that. But what is drawn is clearly different from the actual Roman ruins found in the world so far. So, the secret which has led to the discovery of this Roman ruin is the rings. This is the one Clarice wore. Let's see this part in an enlarged view. So, you see there is something written on it. Lupin recognized it as Gothic characters and he reads it. Revival will come when light doth again with shadow unite, 1517. The year is clearly specified. What happened in 1517? According to Lupin, when the Romans were driven out, they flooded it, and Clarice's ancestors secretly took it over. This doesn't seem right. 1517 was the time of Renaissance, maybe at the peak of the Renaissance movement. So according to history, it was a time when people reevaluated and went crazy about the Greek and Roman culture. This means that they had no reason to hide it. If it was 150 years earlier, maybe it had to be hidden from the attack of the savages. Also, if it was 50 years later, it had to be hidden because some king of Spain, I think it was Charles V, this guy started another religious war, destroying Roman ruins like crazy. It's called Sack of Rome, the savages. So, if it was 50 years later, the flooding might have made sense to hide it from the destroyers trying to destroy all the Roman ruins on the planet. This year, 1517, designated by Miyazaki, it was the time of the Renaissance when a Roman ruin could just stand there and people liked it. People would go, ah, the Renaissance. Let's go back to the image.